everyone. Welcome to the Untold, where we tell untold stories.
And experiences.
And experiences.
And
with
life
beautiful, beautiful guests. And,
And
the
hosts.
wonderful.
And
the
hosts.
yes, and
Beautiful
the wonderful.
guests and hosts.
Hussein Lajuz.
And ALMazeedi, of
Yeah,
course.
man. How are you today?
I'm great, full of energy and excited about this episode.
This is a very important episode to me.
Yeah.
It's about mental health awareness, specifically the spectrum and
Yeah.
people on the spectrum, autism. We have a behavioral specialist with us.
Yeah, 100%.
And let's not waste any time. Welcome him right after this.
Let's do it.
We're back on the Untold with our guest, a behavioral analyst specialist, all the way from the Philippines.
Yeah.
Flo, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me here.
Yeah, it's our pleasure to have someone like you on the show, honestly. It's very, very interesting and a beautiful field that you're into that we both have immense interest in.
Yeah, we're going to talk about mental health, mental awareness, specifically in the spectrum world, autism.
Sure.
Right?
And children.
And children,
Yeah.
especially children. So let's start with a brief introduction about yourself so the viewers know what you've done and what you do.
Okay, so people call me Flo, right? I'm a behavior analyst by profession.
Yeah.
I've been in Kuwait for almost 7 years right now, and I'm mostly dealing with different cases, different range of cases,
Right.
and different ages, right? I've been a consultant with schools. I own now a clinic
Nice.
And-
You own a
and-
clinic. So
yes,
you're
I own a
good.
clinic.
Nice. Congrats.
that offers speech therapy and also behavior therapy.
Therapy, that's
Yeah.
a different thing I want to...
Yeah, these two things combined together. And also the things that I'm offering as well is like training for special education teachers
Okay.
and other paraprofessionals
For them
in
to
dealing,
handle
in
with-
dealing
yes.
behavior
Yes.
therapy, right? So I think that's it. And also something interesting about me as well is like I was brought up in this field because of a family member of mine that is deaf.
Oh.
She is having a teacher Collins syndrome.
Mm.
Her ears is closed.
This is your cousin.
Like if you're trying to do like this one,
Uh-huh.
you wouldn't be able to hear anything but vibrations. Now I was trying to ask myself like, is there a possibility for this child to be able to communicate?
Yeah.
Because when you're gonna be seeing a doctor or any kinds of like developmental pediatricians, they would say like, oh, this is the limitation and everything. But same with all the clients that I was able to work with, have a consultations and meeting, nothing is impossible.
Wow.
Everything is possible. Like before this, right? We were talking about the possibility of having communication
Yes.
with the within the spectrum, and I've seen so many wonders.
Right.
Like also there's limitations of like they will only live by this age. You know what I'm saying? Or for example, they can only do these things. But then when you have the right intervention and specialist for these kinds of cases, you will see all these beautiful things.
But why do we have such a misunderstanding or misconception of the world of autism? I will ask you next, what is autism in your definition?
sure,
But like, why do we have that misunderstanding or misconception?
Before we get to that point, just
Sure.
quickly, so you're inspired by your cousin?
That was
Like
that's
the
the
family
yeah.
member. Yeah.
That's how you got...
Actually, it's my sister.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So, but yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Okay, so that's your inspiration,
Yeah.
how it got you into this world. Please, on his point.
Yeah. So you're saying about the misconceptions,
Yeah.
right?
Hey, why is it that people, as you said, people think that there are a lot of things they cannot do, or we think that they cannot perform certain things. Why is it
Also,
like that?
especially in our societies, they just get heartbroken about having such a child.
Okay. Yeah. So let's define first like what is an
Yeah,
autism
what is
spectrum.
Yeah.
There's like 3 things that we need to look at
Yeah.
Yeah.
to be fitting in this category.
Yeah.
The first one is communication disorder.
Communication disorder.
Second one is like social skills deficit. And the third one is the repetitive behaviors or stereotypies. So for example, if you see a kid hand flapping, body rocking, these are like the typical signs that you will see obviously or objectively, right? There's communication disorder because we call this one pragmatic issues
Right.
because most of them are able to communicate. But the problem is since there's a social skills deficit, they wouldn't be able to communicate with you. But you will see them like, why are they talking to themselves? They can name numbers, letters, and everything.
Yeah.
But like when you're gonna ask them to communicate with you, nothing.
Nothing.
Right?
Right.
So this is the pragmatic language issues that we're talking about. You have the ability to communicate, but because of the social language delay, you cannot communicate with others. That's what limits them.
The social language today.
Yeah,
What do you mean by that? What do you mean by social language today?
There's like you have the ability to express,
Yeah.
right, to communicate, but
That's
then
social ability.
because of the social skills deficit, you cannot transfer it to somebody to
Right.
communicate with someone.
Is there a fine line between understanding or seeing autistic behaviors and introversion, extreme introversion?
Yeah, there's
Sorry,
just people.
what
Like
is the-
someone that's an introvert
Yeah.
or someone that's autistic, right?
Yeah, sure.
Is it normal for someone to mistake both with each other? Because if someone
Because
that's
people,
not
there are
communicating-
people who are introverts.
No, but you need to fit within these three.
Exactly, I'm
when you're
sure.
gonna-
Like
Because when you're gonna say introvert, maybe it's just as a social skills
Right.
deficit.
So that's
but
one of-
there's a communication.
okay, right, fair.
He's
Or
still
no
communicating,
stereotypy,
still
right?
Yeah.
So what we need is these three things
Yeah.
to fit this, you know?
So this is and you, the title that you said, it's a behavioral analyst.
Yes.
So
They analyze
behaviors.
their
Behaviors.
behavior.
Yeah. And when we define behavior, some of the time, some of the misconception is like for our profession particularly, we're only dealing with aggressives or like the ones who hits. No, but when you say behavior, we're also talking about
All
verbal
types of
behavior,
behaviors.
communication. We are also talking about social skills, play skills, imitation. So it's like a very, very varied expertise that you can expound or go into.
Right.
And yeah, that's what's interesting about this field.
What is the research on the cause of someone to be autistic?
A funny thing,
Genetics?
I got that question from somebody a while ago.
Yeah, is it genetics?
It is unknown still,
It is still unknown.
but there are different kinds of
Theories.
diagnosis syndromes that
Okay.
are predisposed.
Predisposed.
So when it's
What
predisposed-
makes one predisposed?
Yeah, so there's like a greater chance.
Yes.
There are
yes.
typical syndromes, like for
Right.
example, Fragile X syndrome, probably parts of like ADHD.
Yes.
The ones who are, because now according to the recent DSM-5 diagnosis, the comorbidities with autism are ADHD, anxiety, depression,
Right.
within this behavioral issues as well. Now it's like they're trying to mix it and see where this is fitting.
Right.
So if you have these kinds of comorbidities and a lot of syndromes that I can name off, you are predisposed. There's a bigger chance for you to have this, you know.
But is it the argument of nature versus nurture? Like, is it genetics that causes autism, or is
No,
it
no, it's not about genetics.
It's
It's,
not
still
that-
unknown.
yeah,
You know,
unknown.
So it's unknown.
it's still
Okay,
unknown
okay.
at this
Got it.
moment. Yeah.
We talked about the spectrum. Let's explain it a little bit more. We all fall under the spectrum, right? We are atypical,
Yeah, sure.
right? And then there is the autism spectrum, and it's so wide,
Sure.
right? So how do you where does this person fall under that huge map? How do you
Exactly, like what's-
just explain that map?
What's on the either ends of the spectrum?
Okay. There is like a group, 15 to
Yeah.
20% of within the
15,
spectrum,
Okay.
if I'm not mistaken about the statistics, right? Of savant syndrome. So these are like before it was coined Asperger syndrome or
yeah,
high functioning.
Yeah, high function.
So this types of kids that falls into this category can be able to have like gifts or talents. Like if I may share, I have a couple of clients.
No,
before.
God, of course.
Yeah.
Time to share.
Yeah, I have a client that like when we're gonna just drive through like a building, after we go to the center or the clinic, he can copy the whole structure intricately.
Photographic memory.
Yes, or there are like some cases wherein like I would just show like they memorize dates, geographical timelines or events. So there's this types of like gifts, right? If you also see from America's, can I say that name?
Of course.
Sure, America's Got Talent, like Cody Lee.
Cody Lee, yes.
Yeah, he's like
If no one knows him, a blind singer. It's also on the spectrum.
yes, definitely.
And
Like
beautiful
everyone was
talent.
shocked about this one
Shocked.
because like
he
he's
doesn't
fidgeting,
talk,
he
he's
doesn't talk.
fidgeting.
But when you ask him to sing, he's really good.
You know,
amazing.
this is the shocking part, I think, about the misconception about autism, and I've always had the misconception. I'll be honest. I always thought that autistic people just couldn't do much. They didn't have
Huge
many-
misconception.
A huge misconception. But how did that change for me? I was invited once to a hospital in Kuwait, and I went in with that conception, like with that. I'm going in, I'll see people not doing much, and so on. And then I met this little kid. His name was Amr. And I was talking to the therapist, the specialist, and she was just like interact with Amr. I was interacting with Amr. Then I figured out that Amr was a beautiful artist. And then Amr takes me to his computer, and he starts building logos on the Paint app. And you know the Paint program on computer.
Yeah,
And then he takes me.
But he did.
Yeah, and then he takes me to the other art music room, and he starts playing a beautiful piano kind of like symphony. And I was like, how is Amr the person that I
Capable
thought
of all that.
100%. And then I realized that autism is not necessarily a stop to life.
Yeah,
In fact,
definitely.
it could be the pause of one chapter, but that's the beginning of a
Yeah,
huge
yeah.
chapter.
Yeah, definitely.
Um,
So, my very first job on this field, I handled 14 to 44 years old kids or adults, right?
Right.
So my initial reaction was I was scared. Well, like I was doing I was a special education teacher back then, but I was like, oh my god, this is the reality. They're really fidgeting and they're taller than you, bigger than you, and fitter than you.
Yeah.
Like if they will be having some problem behaviors, like how can you manage this? You know? So back then I was like asking myself, is there really a great chance for these people to be included? There is.
There is.
Because like when I was in the Philippines, the owner put up like a coffee shop slash restaurant, and these kids, to my surprise, are the ones who are so good in cutting like minicules, you know, onions and everything. Like
They're chefs.
really good. Like
Yeah.
they can do it. But outside of it, they showed the problem behaviors. But
it's
like
so interesting, honestly.
you know,
When you put them in the zone, they're in the zone.
really, that's what I'm saying.
Right?
Sometimes I'm asking myself, they're gonna be a good police officers because like they would see what is the particular
Yeah.
things
Their
that
perception of life is different.
Oh, by the way, there's
true.
a lot of famous people that have autism and have dyslexia, for example.
dyslexia.
Sir Richard Branson, I mean, we know him, he's very famous and he has dyslexia. And I mean, here he is, he's on his island. And so
Yeah.
there's so many people.
Where does ADHD fall in the spectrum world?
it's a different diagnosis, but
Different
it can be
diagnosis.
comorbidity. When you say comorbidity, it's like aside from autism, you also have ADHD,
Right.
right? So this is the new diagnosis system right now. Yeah,
I'm sorry for the viewers, ADHD is
attention deficit hyperactivity
yes.
disorder.
I have officially diagnosed myself with mild ADHD.
Mild ADHD?
A mild, like, I have to say mild ADHD.
I have ADHD.
I have also.
You also have
So
ADHD.
the question is-
we all
And I
have
took
ADHD.
medication.
So the question is, honestly, and this is something that because I'm a psychology background, and one of the things that I really annoys me so much is when I talk to people and they're like, on a bad day, they're like, I'm depressed. On a stress day, I have anxiety. And then on a day that they feel like they can't give me much attention, they're like, I have ADHD. And I feel people are throwing diagnoses.
No, it shouldn't be
It's
like that
different.
because it's different. It's really different.
I'm saying I was diagnosed. He was
I
diagnosed.
wasn't diagnosed.
You weren't diagnosed.
I wasn't diagnosed. But like for me, for example, when I'm sitting and I cannot put my attention to something,
Yeah, sure.
and I genuinely,
Happens to
Like you know,
humans,
with
in
me
general.
in planes,
yeah.
I really hate long rides. Same.
Same.
Because it's like you're gonna sit there for a long
there for
time.
a long
I
time.
wanna press the lights, go to the bathroom, or check something because I feel uncomfortable.
No, 100%.
That's the thing I don't understand about ADHD is having the person always wanting to move.
Yeah.
Always wanting. It's so fidgety. I get fidgety, but I don't necessarily want to move and go.
That's ADD. No?
ADD.
Yes, ADD.
Which one is ADD? Which one is ADD?
Attention deficit disorder.
Okay.
But attention deficit hyperactivity disorder is when you're hyperactive. Like
You
you
think
don't.
I was misdiagnosed and I might have ADD?
So you might have ADD, but it's not ADHD.
My ADHD.
So,
We'll find out. I'll come see you.
thank you so much for this segment, Flo. It's been beautiful. We're just gonna take a very quick break and
Sure,
we'll
sure.
come back with you for way more stories about the autism on the spectrum overall.
Sure. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome back. This is our part 2 of the episode, and I want to talk about speech therapy.
Sure.
How do you help someone that has a stutter? How do you
Okay, so this is a
eliminate
different field. 'cause
Okay.
I'm now on focusing on treatment, behavior therapy.
treatment?
Behavior therapy.
Yes, behavior therapy.
Yeah. So
So speech therapy in your field is like
here's the thing, because I think we're the first one here in Kuwait doing this one. I'm incorporating speech therapy strategies and techniques because I get my supervision and help from my supervisor in London. He is a behavior slash speech therapy, okay, therapist. So the way that we're doing the center right now is that first of all, when people say that you cannot speak, automatically sign language or picture exchange, right?
Right.
So this is like or prologue. You know that like the one that Stephen Hawking is using, like this one, the iPad or something or the application, right? So it limits sometimes to produce the vocal abilities, right? But like when I was able to meet like really good speech therapists, I was able to figure out that if you mix behavior therapy and speech, any child can talk at least a word.
Any child can talk, at least.
In
a
this
little.
That's why you said nothing is impossible at the start.
Nothing is impossible. Like we have a case that we had like maybe like in 2 months before they started. They went to all the centers in Kuwait, and then when they started to go with us, he started saying mama, baba, yeah, and no. Like it's funny. I'm gonna say to you something. Like, do you want this? He's saying to me, he's saying to the mother, yeah, like this one. Like,
He's smiling.
wouldn't you be happy for that one that your child was be able to
Absolutely.
communicate with you?
Absolutely.
Or say, for example, no, because there's like
Yeah.
simple prompts to produce the sounds.
Right.
Like ma are nasal in nature, so you get
True.
that from here, right? So this backgrounds, when you're getting this one and mix it with behavior therapy, it's kind of lethal in a sense, like good, like you're gonna make a big progress and
Right.
help for this kid, you know. So those cases that you think it's almost impossible or hopeless, you know, there's still hope.
There's always.
And I'm
hope.
just,
There's
as
always
I was about to say to you, like there
Yeah.
are so many cases that I was able to handle that when they transition, they were able to get like works.
So you're saying you never had a hopeless case?
Yeah, you know. So even sometimes there's like a saying like even the hardest cases are really hard to learn.
Yeah.
So just do whatever you can do because it's always on us. They depend on us, you know. So we need to make sure to give them the right support and environment and pick the right goals, right?
Right.
Because like I think I have to give this as an awareness for the people. Because
Absolutely.
I
Please.
think we would like to put our kids, especially in schools, right?
Mm-mm.
Okay, this is academics and everything and socialization. But at the end of the day, my goal and our center's goal is to provide these kids an independent living skill, you know,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
or be able to live by themselves without depending on their parents.
Yeah, of course, exactly. Later on, they have to be independent and have to cope with the adventures of life.
Because, for example, if this kid is still wearing diapers or is still wearing like this large
Adult
diapers at
diapers,
the
yeah.
age of like 10, it's really a problem that we need
Right.
to fix.
It's not acceptable in society and has a lot
Exactly.
of consequences.
Not
I can only imagine.
for that person.
It's 100%.
themselves, you know.
You have to.
And you can. There are ways to navigate.
And
the
like say for
issue.
example, a kid wouldn't be able to go to mall or restaurants because they cannot cope with the sound.
The sound. Their
You know,
sensories
so
are very big
it's,
thing in this world.
limiting this kid to be included into the society, right? So what we're pushing on right now is like I'm gonna go to Colorado, right?
Yeah.
And I'm getting some funds for this country in Kuwait, and I'm also working with some clients
Yeah.
to push it to the government to put like at least a behavior analyst in each school because that's what's happening right now in Dubai for some places, and help teachers and other paraprofessionals to be able to understand this spectrum, ASD
Yeah.
in general. Because I've seen so many wonders, you know, kids who are not talking, then they will be able to express. Some kids who cannot go to the bathroom, but they are now hygienic, they can do it by themselves, right? Some kids who are afraid to go to malls, or say, for example, go to just Bacala, you know, like, you know.
You know, the simple things you're talking about that the simple things that we can do normally and they find it hard doing. I just wonder, how do you have, I mean, it's an honest question, like how do you have all the patience? Like you just said before coming into the room, you said that you got a scratch because obviously sometimes you have to deal with
Oh, yeah.
kids that might at some points be aggressive with you, but you're dealing with it. 'cause
Unpredictable. Their behavior.
It's unpredictable,
yeah.
and it's
Like
a
I'm
process.
gonna show you too. I have a big scar over here. This is like one of the big bites that I have. I don't know if it's somewhere here.
So it's just the child bit you.
Yeah,
But here's the thing, it's like you don't know the trigger sometimes. We're just walking along this school, as I was supervising this kid by then, and then probably there's like a trigger somewhere in the environment.
There's a lot of triggers.
And he did like this.
Ah.
Because you didn't predict this one from happening, right? So this is what we're preventing from happening. This is my forte.
This is your
Like
forte.
in terms of patience, of course, everyone is still a human at the end of the day,
Yeah,
right?
human,
Like
right.
for example, if somebody's nagging you, like your
Yeah.
girlfriend or anything, like you cannot just stay there for a long time and then like just go with it.
Right.
Like go with the flow.
Go
right?
with the flow.
That's what I was
Go with
saying.
the flow.
Yeah. So, but what I'm just trying to say is that it's not about being patient as well, but you know and be competent with what you're doing. Because at the end of the day, you don't blame the child. You see the situation, and then what can I do to help this kid, right?
but obviously,
What about
and you're doing everything it takes, and you're definitely someone that's extremely
Doing whatever it
patient.
takes.
Whatever it takes,
And it's a challenging job.
Yeah, it is,
but
it
at the
is.
end of the day, it's very, very what's this? Rewarding.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think for someone like you coming with it, with that inspirational story you told me about, I think you care about the
Yeah,
patient
definitely.
first. And if you care, like, he does, you
Yeah.
wouldn't worry about the patients and all that.
Absolutely.
No,
Because you
but
wanna
you wouldn't
help.
you wouldn't feel the
You wouldn't-
tiredness.
you wouldn't-
exhaustion,
No, but that's
You're
not
an
the,
but you will feel it
institution.
after.
no, that's actually a question I want to move to because exactly. So that's a question I always had for therapists. Like, how do you deal with all this? It's heavy. Let's agree, it's heavy. So let's take an average day for you. You go, you deal with all the kids, and you try your best to move them from point 1 to point 3 or point 10, and then you have to go home and make yourself dinner. How do you sit in honestly after having to carry all that? How do you have time for yourself to sit in peace and manage your time?
I think that
I
brings
think-
in peace.
And be you,
I
and be
think this is like one of the characteristics that one who's gonna pursue this career should have. Being patient, organized,
Organization
and
stuff.
like it's about like being critical
Yeah.
and like creative in a way that you're managing and building your time, and at the same time you're not putting the pressure to yourself. Because at the end of the day, you need to put also time for yourself, you know?
Right.
Like sometimes
If you're not taking
friends
care of
or
yourself, you
anything.
can't take care of them.
Like what I'm trying to say to all of my therapists is that after work, don't bring any more job into your house.
That's the most. That's very toxic when you
Leave
do.
the-
And guess what? I do it every day.
It's
I do-
our job line
Our
is
j-
different, so you
Yeah,
have
I mean,
to bring the
it's definitely something to learn from. Perhaps what is the shift for Flo to kind of like to move from someone that was just training and being a behavioral analyst to someone that's opened his own center? Like, what was the shift?
Here's the thing. When I was still doing I was still a therapist by the
Yeah.
time, right? I was asking myself, I'm getting limited by what I can do. Because at the end of the day, most of the centers in here, I'm gonna speak honestly,
Yes,
it's still
please.
business. Like
It's commercialized.
it's commercialized.
Yeah, yeah.
Like at the end of the day, you want to let the parents continue with you.
Yes.
But with us, what I'm trying to say to them is that don't waste any more seconds or minutes, because this seconds and minutes can change something for the kid,
Mhm.
right? So from there, I moved to becoming a behavior analyst because there's like hierarchies, right?
Yeah.
So now I become supervisor. I have my own belief and system, and I was able to help a lot of kids and families. I think I started this one 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Mm.
There's not a lot of competitions,
Mm.
and it's still a baby, you know, for
Yeah,
this kind
yeah,
of treatment.
Nice.
And there's a
Like,
need for it in
Yes,
Kuwait.
like when I opened my center way back in December,
Mm.
almost every week there's like a new client,
Wow.
and I was like, what is going on?
Autistic community in Kuwait, it is a bit big, and we need these centers. So
And then-
I'm grateful that
Yeah,
you've
and then some are
established-
like, what I want is like, and Kuwait is very receptive to that, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
And there's so much things that we can do to this country. It's not yet polluted with like
So
a
Okay, Flo, I want to play a game with you.
Sure,
Let's play again.
True or false?
Sure.
Okay? Autistic people can be very creative.
sure.
True.
True.
Autistic people can play beautiful instruments.
In the middle.
Autistic people can end up starting businesses.
Sure. Yes.
Autistic people can be very successful in life.
True.
And nothing is impossible for autistic people.
Yeah, sure. True.
Amazing. Just wanted to leave that with the audience to
Yeah.
summarize autism as a whole.
Yeah.
And let's change the world one behavior at a time.
One behavior at a time.
That is a quote I'll steal.
That is an amazing
I will
quote.
use in another episode.
Yeah, this guy in quotes, yeah. But wow, what a beautiful episode. I would like you to leave us with words of advice for parents, for even any autistic people that are watching.
I think what we should have is like to have an open mind
Yeah.
Yeah.
and also continue to learn.
Mm.
Because the more that you get curious about this particular field or any kinds of field that you want to do, you will progress and see what you can do more,
Right.
right? So, and as I was saying to you a while ago, what I just want is that let's focus on one behavior at a time,
Mm.
and we can make too much changes to this country and to the world.
And you've been in Kuwait for 7 years now, right? If there's one thing you can tell us, just to end it on a different note, what do you like about this country that you feel is making a difference? That what is it? Is it like that you're making a difference on a country that is yet growing in this field, or what is it exactly that you're trying to tap into here? What is it? What stands out?
Because I think there is an openness for change. And I like that if the country is open to change,
Yeah.
or if you're open to change, you can do a lot of things.
Right.
And I think there's still some people who are listening to you. You don't know that they're listening. Like this one is very important. I don't know who's gonna listen to this one, but like one way or another, one person at least, that's my goal,
Yeah.
who's gonna listen from the government officials or anywhere, might have a law or
Right.
any kind of acts
Right.
to make things
To make a
happen.
change. Yeah.
Let's do that. I'm for that one.
Well,
Amazing.
you heard it here first on the Untold. Thank you for your time.
Really
Flo,
appreciate it. Really appreciate it.
and it flew so fast in this episode because this topic is very interesting. And thank you for your time. We'll be right back with the wrap up.
Thank you.
And we're back to wrap up this beautiful, beautiful episode.
Wow.
You are very interested in this.
Yes.
What do you think as a person?
I want to go recheck and see if I have ADHD or ADD.
Yeah, I
Either
mean-
way, I can't take any meds for it. I feel fine regardless, but it is a struggle sometimes.
Yeah.
However, insightful interview.
100%. I wish people were more aware of it.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what we're trying to do.
Exactly.
In our job here to get the message out, get the word
Exactly,
out.
exactly.
It is never hopeless.
As he said.
Never
Flo
hopeless.
succeeded to raise awareness in this episode.
And please go seek out help. There are specialists out there for your children.
Exactly.
There is hope. Do not lose hope. Do not
Exactly.
feel heartbroken about it. Yes, it is sad and devastating, but
Impossible
it
is
can be
nothing.
something beautiful.
Exactly. Impossible
know,
is nothing, honestly.
Impossible is nothing.
If you think they can't speak, there's always hope to speak the first word.
Absolutely.
So reach out and try.
Yeah. Thank you for tuning in, as usual, to The Untold with the beautiful Hussein Majuz and someone.
And someone else called
Yes,
ALMazeedi.
someone, yes. Anyway, we'll see you tomorrow. Good night.